Okay, so Rose is 100% the main villain in the movie Titanic. All right? She's the main villain in the movie Titanic for sure. For sure. Rose is selfish at the beginning of the movie when we meet her, and she is selfish at the end of the movie when we meet or when we finish with her. So she's like she doesn't actually develop as a character whatsoever. All right? Now, when I say Rose is a villain, let's start at the beginning. Rose is engaged to Cal. Cal is providing for her. He's buying her diamonds. He's rolling out the red carpet, first class on the Titanic. Cal hangs out with her mother and doesn't complain. Cal is a good, patient, beautiful man, okay? Good, patient, beautiful man. And now, what is Rose's response to like coming to America, first class Titanic, beautiful diamonds, jewelry, a man that loves her? What is her response to it? Oh, she's going to be selfish and like suicidal. Because like when Jack meets her, she's about to commit suicide. So she's like not really super pleasant to be around, you know? And she starts off very, very selfish. Then we go forward and she starts cheating on Cal with Jack, you know, a man she doesn't really even freaking know, okay? So, like, she's not faithful. She's not sticking to her vows. She's just, like, being depressing and woe is me. And she's being very selfish. She doesn't care what her mother thinks. She doesn't care what Cal thinks. She's just going to do whatever she's going to do, okay? She cheats on Cal, right? And so that makes Cal very upset. He slaps her. She's basically destroying Cal's life. Like, Cal has made a plan for his life. He has a vision, and she's basically destroying that vision, all right? Now, on top of that, let's look at some other factors in the story. Literally, she's the reason the Titanic hits the iceberg. Oh, what do you mean, Joe? The two dudes in the the two dudes up in the crow's nest who are supposed to be looking out for icebergs are actually watching Rose, you know, be a whore making out with freaking Jack. Okay, they're like, oh, it seems a bit warmer than we are up here, you know. So like, she's literally distracting the dudes watching the icebergs. And so she's partially responsible for everyone dying. She's responsible for 1,500 people dying. She's responsible for poor people dying and steerage dying. She's responsible for those two old people that everyone gets sad about. You know, the two old people in the bed when the water's rushing in. That's because of Rose, okay? Jack being arrested is because of Rose, okay? So she literally causes the Titanic to sink in the story, right? And then also, as an old lady, she's like telling disgusting pornographic stories about her and Jack banging in the car in front of her granddaughter, like very inappropriate, all right? So like her morals are very shady, okay? Her morals are very shady. Then she gets in a lifeboat, right? Jack and Cal get her in a lifeboat, all right? The two men in her life, the one who's being screwed over and the one who just showed up, they get her on a boat, all right? They're gonna have to fend for themselves, okay? And then what does Rose do? She gets off the boat. She gets off the lifeboat back onto the Titanic, which that kills two people directly. It kills Jack directly at the end, because we know that Jack, if Rose wasn't on the boat, Jack wouldn't have changed anything. He would have been on the back of the ship when it sank. He would have floated to the top. He would have found the door. He would have got on the door. He would have lived had Rose not gotten back on the Titanic. Not only that, but she took up a seat. There is a seat in the lifeboat that she took up with her fat ass. Sorry, that's mean. There's a seat she took up in the lifeboat. That could have been for a child or an old lady or just freaking anyone. And she just wastes a seat. She wastes a lifeboat seat. All right? So she destroys Cal's life. She gets Jack killed. She's the reason the Titanic even hits the iceberg. And then she selfishly steals a seat because she's like, well, I want to spend another hour with Jack on the boat. She literally gets another person killed because she has to spend an hour on the boat with Jack. Freaking ridiculous. Freaking ridiculous. Then, at the end of the movie, she throws a diamond away in the ocean. She could have given that diamond to her granddaughter. She could have like secured future generations of her family's financial security. You know, you don't have to worry about a home or health care or food for generations because, you know, you have this freaking ridiculously expensive heart of the ocean diamond, and she doesn't even give it to her granddaughter. You know, she's just wasting everyone's time. She throws it in the ocean. So like her very last act is selfish. Her last act, because she's like, I need closure from Jack. Then when she dies at the end of the movie, right? And she goes to like heaven. Does she go to her husband? Because we know that after Cal, she has a husband, okay? We know she has a husband after Cal because she has a granddaughter and a family and blah, 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 blah. So when she dies, does she go up to heaven to be with her husband? You know, a man that like took care of her, had children with her, raised a life. You know, no, she rather hang out with Jack, a man she's known for like not even 5 days. So like even when she dies, she's selfish because she doesn't want to be reunited with her real husband who actually lived with her and took care of her. She wants to go back to the fantasy that is Jack. Everything about this woman is selfish. She gets She's responsible for thousands of people dying. Cal commits suicide during the Great Depression because she destroyed his life so much, and they just gloss over it like, oh, what a piece of shit. And I'm like, I'm sorry. This is a cheating, vacuous, selfish woman who never learns her lesson, even all the way from beginning to end. She never learns her lessons. And they act like it's romantic. And you're like, no, she's a terrible person. She's a terrible, selfish person. She doesn't even I didn't even get into the idea of she doesn't let Jack get on the door. She's like, nah, that's okay. That's okay. You can just freeze to death down there, So, she got so many people killed. She's the reason Fabrizio gets killed. She's the reason that Irish guy gets shot. She's the reason the old people drown in their beds. She's the reason for all those frozen people at the end of the movie. Oh, and I forgot. She lets her mother think that she's dead. Her mother, who survives the Titanic, because we know she does. Rose doesn't even, put her real name on the list of survivors. So she's cool with her mother being like, oh, Rose died. So, she doesn't give a shit. She's a terrible person. She destroyed Cal's life, Jack's life, 1,500 people's lives, plus the survivors having PTS the entire time. And she's supposed to be the hero of the story. Fucking terrible. Also, remember my last video when I talked about Cal saving that little girl's life? I wish I had added this comment of from that little girl's perspective, Cal is a hero. She was just crying in the corner, abandoned by her drunk Irish parents or whatever they were. And then, this hero comes along and saves her. So from her perspective, when she tells her story about the Titanic, she's always going to have Cal there, who's, a brave man and a beautiful man in a tuxedo who saved her life. All right. So I am positive Cal's the hero. Jack is kind of a hero, but Rose is a real bitch. It's true.